I've been a corporate accountant now for the last decade plus, and I'm also helping other people on their own personal finance journey. And in this Finance After Dark live stream, I wanted to dissect Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps. Do they work? Have they become outdated and maybe irrelevant? We're gonna dive into each one of them during this live stream and talk through my own kind of experience because I've gone through these steps, to be quite honest with you, and at times I didn't realize maybe that I was doing so. But let's kind of start back. I mean, these baby steps were created in the early 90s from Dave Ramsey. So that's why I mentioned, like, are these outdated? They were kind of crystallized in a book that he wrote. It was called Financial Peace in 1992. He published that book, and that's when this kind of theory kind of blew up and was shared to a lot of people, right? So as we kind of go through these, we'll see if they make sense in today's world, 3 years later in 2025. So let's start with baby step one. Let's just jump right into this. And that is to save $1,000 for a starter emergency fund, okay? And this is the one that he gets a ton of pushback on, a ton. And everyone keeps telling him $1,000 is not enough money. And they might be right because $1,000 in 1992 would be worth around $2,200 in today's money. So obviously we know that the value of like our purchasing power with each dollar is getting like worse and worse, right? It's just like, yeah, everything's getting worse and worse. Everyone knows this, right? So that's kind of what the pushback is. Is $1,000 enough? And his argument is that the $1,000 was never supposed to be enough. It was kind of just to get started. And this standpoint, I can get behind. Because I think if you have $0 as your savings, right? Getting to $1,000 is a huge deal, even if you don't think it's enough. Because what you're doing is, it's just a great way to get started. It's a great way to sort of, block out any of the bumps that might come through in your personal finances, and it's a great way to just build the habit. So if you have zero savings right now, I challenge you to see if you can budget $100 a month to save. Just put aside, just put into a checking account. If you're disciplined enough, just leave it in your checking account so you have a little buffer, so you're not going below zero or anything like that. But I really like this idea, and it just, again, it creates a little gap for you, just in case there's something that comes up, there's a mistake, like you're trying hard and something happens in your personal finances. But to make this a little more modern, I actually like the idea of I don't necessarily think $1,000 is enough to like protect yourself. Of course not. But again, the $1,000 is a great way to start. But what I like to think about it is, when you're reviewing your finances or thinking back to your finances, or doing this process that I call the 3-month look back, where you're looking back 3 months, you kind of see your historical spending data of the last 3 months. You can kind of see where your money has been going, and take a look at that and take a really deep dive into it and see what the highest unexpected expense was in those 3 months. And you can even go back further to try and find larger ones. But basically what I like to think about is, how much money would cover your most expensive unexpected expense. That's how much I think we should be having as just like our initial savings. So is that could be $1,000, it could be $2,000, right? Everyone's number is going to be a little different. And that's kind of the best part about personal finances too, where it's like it's not like this cookie cutter thing. There's always some kind of room for everyone to have their own different thing. So hey Ahmed, how are you? So I kind of ask you guys, where do you sit on the $1,000 emergency fund? Do we have savings? Are we working towards our first $1,000 emergency fund? Have we already reached this step? Because there's some crazy stats out there, guys, that saving $1,000 puts you ahead of, like, I think the stat is 56% of people who wouldn't be able to pay for $1,000 emergency. So over half of people, if they had over a $1,000 unexpected expense, they would not be able to pay for it in cash. They would have to be, doing the old credit card thing or something. So if you can get to that $1,000, again, it doesn't sound like enough, but in today's world, for some reason, there's just a lot of people that don't have that. So if you're able to get to that point, just know that you're above like half the people already. I mean, it's insane. So yeah, I'd love to see, are you guys working on that step, or how's that been going? Just the beginning of saving $1,000. Okay, great. Yeah, but that's great. You're on your path, Crystal, right? And like I said, once you get there, you're past like half the people who don't have that. So just keep that in mind, where maybe $1,000 doesn't seem significant, but it's significant enough to just to get you started. Now, baby step 2, let's dive right into that one. This is to pay off all your debt except for the house if you have one, using the snowball method, the debt snowball method. So let me explain what that is if you're not really too sure. So with the debt snowball method, what you want to do is list out your debts in order of smallest debt to largest debt. And then how this works is we pay minimum payments on all of our debts, and then the extra money that hopefully we're able to put towards our debt, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, right? Hopefully, the extra money that we're putting, we put towards the smallest loan amount. And that way, so all the minimums are covered, so you're not going to like get in trouble. There's not going to be any extra fees. And then the extra, let's call it $100, $200 a month, whatever it is, towards that first debt. And then from there, you're going to eventually pay that off. And then the money that you've been applying to that first debt every single month gets rolled into the next one. And that's why it's called the snowball method, because it gains momentum. Think about it like a snowball rolling down a huge mountain, right? It's going to keep getting larger and larger and larger. And that's, the snowball represents your monthly payments towards your debt. And this is a great way to, the sort of mindset behind why this is good is, if you're maybe kind of just starting with this, or you don't think your personal finance discipline is that great. I mean, you can kind of self-assess your own, but if you don't think it's that great, this is a good way to you get that nice psychological boost when you pay off a debt very quickly. So let's say your first one is $1,000. You have a $1,000, you have a $5,000, you have a $10K, and you have a $20K, right? So it would feel pretty good if you were able to pay off the $1,000 in a couple months, a few months, right? And then all that money you had rolling into that, or paying in that $1,000, you roll into the $5,000, and then you do the same exact thing where it's like, okay, the last two, the 10K and the 20K debt, we're still paying minimum payments, and we're just pumping all the extra money to the 5K one until that's done. We roll it into the 10K, we roll that into the 20K. And again, this isn't bad. Ahmed once saved around $780. Nice. Nice. What happened to it? Mark, I'm surprised that experts don't recommend having more than $1,000 in an emergency fund. So, yeah, I would say, well, you know what? Let's not jump ahead because that's part of baby step number 3. But we're definitely gonna touch on that. It should be maybe more than $1,000. Yeah, Ahmed, I agree. But this is like just this is just meant to be like a starting point for baby step 1. And yeah, baby step 3, no spoilers, but baby step 3, we get into the emergency fund yet again. Okay, but back to baby step 2, the pay off your debt using the snowball method. I think it's great, but I do think that there are other options now, and other good options. And this is where it's kind of funny with Dave Ramsey. If you're not familiar with him, he's really sort of dug his feet into the the trenches about the things that he believes in and like these baby steps, and um he's not willing to look at other options. He knows that they exist, and he always has to defend himself about like why not this, why not this. But for baby step 2, there is actually another great option, and it's the debt avalanche method, and it's the same idea, but instead of ranking our debts from smallest loan to largest loan, we're ranking our debts in order of highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. And the same thing happens here, where let's say you have if you have a 25% interest rate, a 20% interest rate, a 10% interest rate, and a 5% interest rate, right? We would rank them from in that order. You'd pay minimums on all of them. You'd put that extra 100, 200 bucks, whatever, towards the 25% interest rate, your highest interest rate. You pay that off, and then you go to the next one, you go to the next one, you go to the next one, right? The benefit to this is it's absolutely the most cost efficient. It's like absolutely going to be because you're paying off the highest interest first. And interest is such a killer when it comes to debt. So if we can get rid of the worst interest, then it's going to happen a lot faster. So I just think that there's actually two great options. I think both options are great, and you kind of have to weigh. Which option is best for you. Now, when my wife and I were paying off $43,000 of debt in just over a year, to be honest with you, we did not know about these strategies. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. We had 12 different loans. I had some just in my name. She had some in her name. We had some shared ones. It was nuts. I wouldn't recommend having 12 loans personally. But we saw, like, once we put them on a list, we're like, huh. And we did this where we ranked them from smallest to largest. I did a little filter, and we noticed that 4 or 5 of them were under like $1,200. So for us, it was like, wow, it would feel really great if in however long it was going to take us, we could just get rid of a third of the number of loans that we have. So it would go from like 12 to 8. And what ended up happening is we were pretty aggressive in the beginning, and all this money, the snowball that we created towards the end was just kind of ridiculous. And it gets kind of exciting to be, not to like nerd out, but it's fun seeing the progress and knocking off the small ones. It's so great. But then the other one works. The debt avalanche works. I mean, a lot of people that are in debt, a lot of them have maybe a credit card debt, and the credit card debts are always going to be, I don't know, 20% interest rate or higher. 20% interest rate or higher. And you have to just kind of look at the math first. And the people that I'm helping with in my free personal finance community, I give them access to a debt payment calculator, and you can kind of play around with the numbers, and you can toggle between the two strategies. So the debt snowball, the debt avalanche method, you enter all your information, and you can see how long it's going to take you to pay off your debt based on each of the strategies. So the debt avalanche method almost always, I guess if you're applying extra money towards your debt, the debt avalanche method is always going to happen faster. The only thing is, like, let's say in the example that I was using with the 25% interest rate, 20%, 10%, 5%, let's pretend that 25% interest rate is also your largest loan. The debt avalanche method wants you to stick to that one until you pay it off. So if it's like, I don't know, say you have $20,000 of credit card debt at a 25% interest rate, it's going to take you a very long time to pay off the $20,000. So that's where you might ask yourself, like, okay, over the long run, I might lose money in this scenario, paying off this, if I have this high interest rate and I go to the snowball method, but maybe my mindset will help. And the other interest rates that I have, like, they're a little smaller, because if your first loan is like $20,000, and it might take a little longer. So if you don't think your mindset is ready for that, it could be a little overwhelming. Hey, Dory, how's it going? We're talking about Dave Ramsey's baby steps here. And we're about to jump into baby step number 3, which Mark and Ahmed were kind of alluding to a little earlier. But like, hey, is $1,000 enough? What's the average interest rate of those 12 loans? Yeah, to be honest, so when we were paying it off, I wish I did this, because back then I didn't know that I was going to be like creating content around personal finance stuff and trying to help other people. I wish I had kept a better trail. Literally, the spreadsheet that we had just had the month, what the loan was, and then what our total balance was left over. We didn't have a full encompassing sheet of like, hey, this is the minimum payment for this is the interest rate for this. I don't think we didn't have anything. I don't think we had too many outrageous interest rates, to be very honest with you, but I wish I kept track of that stuff, Ahmed, and I didn't, unfortunately. Baby step 3. So let's talk about it. So in baby step 3, Dave Ramsey says to save 3 to 6 months of expenses in your emergency fund. So in baby step 1, he wants us to save $1,000 just to kind of get started, to create a little buffer, okay? And then he's like, with that buffer, I want you to pay off debt. Now, again, to your guys' point in the chat, like, if you have to get your tires replaced or something like that, that's going to be probably over $1,000 or close to it. It's going to wipe you out, right? And then the whole point is like to create this buffer. The emergency fund is to create this buffer so that we can do financial goal stuff. So like we can pay off the debt, we can save more money. Think about it like this. This is an analogy that I like to use. Let's say that imagine yourself in like your favorite video game, even if you don't play them now, like maybe you played one as a kid. Like think of like a game where the main character has a health bar, okay? And the end of the level is your financial goal. So let's say in this example, it's paying off debt. You're like going to be debt free, right? And your health bar is your emergency fund, okay? So you're going through the level, everything's going great, and then all of a sudden you're getting attacked out of nowhere. Your screen's flashing red, there's sirens, your health bar's going down. In the game, what do? Do you try and push forward, knowing that if you die in the game, you have to go back to the last checkpoint or the start of the entire level, right? Or do you kind of like panic, look around, like, oh, wow, there's a rock over there. Let me just go hide behind the rock and let everything kind of calm down. You hang out behind the rock, you do like a med kit or I don't know, whatever in the game to boost your health bar back up. You wait for it to sort of normalize out there, and then you go back out on your journey. That's kind of what an emergency fund is in real life, right? It's like emergency funds are health bar, and if we get tires, we get I don't know, some other thing happened, I don't know, whatever unexpected expenses that you have, and you just keep pushing through, you're probably going to have to go back to the last checkpoint, which means you're making progress paying off your debt. Maybe you're 2 months, 3 months in, and everything's going great. And then boom, an unexpected expense happens and you have to go back to the last checkpoint. So the emergency fund allows us to at least pause and maybe just instead of making more than the minimum debt payments, we're just making minimum payments. Just to pause and just to kind of keep it going instead of like, oh, this unexpected expense happens and now I have to go back into credit card debt to be able to pay for this unexpected expense, and all that progress I made, I just rolled back and I have to do that whole part of the level all over again. Does that analogy kind of make sense, guys? Yeah, Mark. So yeah, 3 months of living expenses. 3 to 6 months of so it's expenses. So meaning like how much does it cost you to live each month? And then that is basically times 3 to 6. So it's not necessarily your income, but at the end of the day, like you should know what your income is too. Like, hey, what's my paycheck? But really it's your income. Because if you make $5,000 a month, just as an example, and you spend $2,500 a month, your emergency fund would probably just need to cover 3 to 6 months of that $2,500. Obviously more is better. Ahmed, great example for emergency fund. All right, cool. I'm glad you like that. It's like the extra armor for your character in the game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you walk out with no health bar, you're screwed, right? But anyway, baby step 3. So 3 to 6 months of expenses in your emergency fund, and I do think that this is great advice. This is sound advice, but the 3 to 6 months thing has, in my opinion, kind of gone viral. Like if you were to go on Google and just search for how much money you should have in your emergency fund, every single article, like literally every article, has kind of latched onto this idea. And I don't know if he was the first one to think about this specific or not, but every article is going to say something like, "Oh, experts say save 3 to 6 months of worth of your expenses," right? Every single article. Like you can do it now and tell me if I'm wrong, but it's like every single article. And in my opinion, while I think it's good advice and 3 to 6 months of your expenses is amazing, I think that it's the kind of messaging like that keeps people stuck, in my opinion. Because when people read that, they're like, "Oh wow, 3 to 6 months of expenses, that's a lot of money," right? Because then they look in their own personal finances and they see how much they're spending every single month, right? So if you're tracking your finances, you're budgeting, you can kind of see, what am I spending every month? And then if you multiply that times 3 or 6 months, you could be looking at anywhere from having to save $10,000 to $30,000 to be able to, put this, like, check this one off the box. And I think a lot of people just kind of look at that and like, "Oh wow, like how am I going to be able to do that?" Like I maybe you have no savings and it's like, I can't save $10,000 to $30,000, and it just feels so overwhelming. And I think people are just like, well, maybe saving money is not for me, or like maybe I'm just not cut out for this. And I think it's a little discouraging because it's such a high amount. That's kind of my only fault to that. It's great advice, but I think that's why I do kind of like the baby step 1 aspect, where it's like, all right, save something. So Dave Ramsey says $1,000. I like doing the how much is your most expensive unexpected expense. So save something, and then Dave's thought is, okay, pay off all like your consumer debt, your credit cards, your student loans, whatever, and then beef up the rest of that emergency fund. And I guess it would be a lot easier to save 3 to 6 months of expenses if you were not putting money towards those credit cards, student loans, etc. Hey Liam, how's it going? It's not practical. My rent is at least 80% of my monthly income. Which one are you talking about? And that seems a little high. Where do you live, if you don't mind me asking? Are you in like a higher expense area, like a large city? Um, so yeah, at the end of the day, the 3 to 6 months is obviously a great buffer. The emergency fund is a great buffer. Yeah, doing well, Liam. Doing well. Appreciate you. Ah, okay. I'm not familiar with like the expenses over there, but I'm guessing London. What time is it over there? Is it like 2 or 3 in the morning? Because I know it's like 6:30 a.m. for a med right now. That's crazy. You guys are crazy. You guys got to get some sleep. But I appreciate you being here. It means a lot. All right. So let's any questions or thoughts? Any extra thoughts on baby steps 1, 2, 3? So it's basically save $1,000, like save something. Baby step 2, pay all the debt using the snowball method. That's Dave Ramsey's thing. His baby step 3 is save 3 to 6 months of expenses in an emergency fund. So yeah, do you guys have any final thoughts or questions on that? 2:27 a.m. My goodness, you're a night owl, Liam. I am not. um, let's jump into baby step 4. And for baby step 4, Dave Ramsey says that we should be investing 15% of our household income. So that might seem intimidating, right? But if we think about it, okay, all of our debt, except if you have a mortgage, is paid off. We have 3 to 6 months of savings, 3 to 6 months of expenses of savings put aside, right? So now it's like, okay, now we don't really need to save any more money. We don't need to pay any more debt. We can just put money towards our future, right? And I think this is pretty sound advice. There's no real issues here. And just to reiterate, he does say household income, not necessarily take-home pay, right? So if you make, I don't know, if you make 60,000, he's saying invest 6,000, not 10% of your paycheck. Oh, you work at night. Okay, cool. Cool. And I think this again. I think 15% is very strong. I do like using the framework of 50, 30, 20, and basically what this is, it's just a framework, right? We don't need to be perfect with it, and this kind of falls into it. Investing 15%. Okay, so it's 50% of our income should be going towards need items like the roof over our head, utilities, food, all the stuff that we like literally need to live. 30% of our income should be going towards want items. Okay, so all the stuff from Amazon, all the streaming platforms that we have, right? Stuff like that. And then the 20% is money. 20% of our income should be going towards financial goals. So think things like paying off debt, saving money, investing for our future selves, right? So the 15% kind of falls into that. The one kind of workaround that I really love with this, instead of thinking about it as 50, 30, 20, so need item, want item, financial goal, what if we flipped it and we did need item, financial goal, and then the rest is want item? Because what I see a lot is, at no fault at anyone's, I've been guilty of this too, but you just kind of go through the month, you're living life, and all your expenses just kind of happen. And then at the end of the month, you're telling yourself throughout the whole month, like, oh yeah, I got to put money in my emergency fund. Oh yeah, I got to put more money towards my debt. And at the end of the month, you're like, oh crap, you look and you just have no extra money. And it's because we're prioritizing the need items, the want items, and then the financial goals are the afterthought. So I kind of challenge you guys, like, what happens if we do need? Because obviously we still need to live in a place with a roof, right? We still need to, utilities. We still need to eat. So obviously that's like non-negotiable. But then if we start like what's the word? My brain is like fried right now. Set up like auto payments towards our financial goals, right? So like if you get paid, it's like, boom, instantly I have money going to savings. Boom, I'm going to just pay some debt or whatever the thing is, right? And you just do it instantly. And that way you're left over with just this chunk. And then you use that chunk for the want items. Does that kind of make sense for you guys? Yeah, Liam. So the whole I get what you're saying. So not sure how that is viable if you work paycheck to paycheck. So the whole point is, well, I guess let me ask you, like, are you explaining your situation like you're living paycheck to paycheck? And if so, are you currently like tracking your finances? Are you budgeting? Are you being like intentional with your money? I understand you're talking about new wave capitalism, but is that not being a robot with almost nothing to have fun with? Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It just depends on how. Like, I'm not saying no fun. I really like the idea of having North Star goals, and on that list, you're going to put the things that are most important to you. So on that list, you're obviously allowed to like have fun things or fun thoughts or put money towards fun things. But if something's not on that list, then you're telling yourself it's not as important, and we should be able to try to trim the fat of the other stuff. So it's like you make a list of, I don't know, 5 things, 10 things. Could be current things, like they don't even have to be money goals or money thoughts or whatever. It could be like life stuff. I mean, I was working with someone, and one of the things on his, like, basically, I guess it wasn't really a North Star goal, but he was pretty much like a non-negotiable, where he would get he called them expensive haircuts from this guy that's basically family, and him and his family have been going there for decades, and he's like, they're super expensive. I think he said they're like, I don't know, $75 haircuts or something like that, which seems a lot. And he's like, I realize that most people would probably cut this out, but this is just a non-negotiable for me. And I'm like, oh, it's your list. Like, yeah, that's great. So then we'll just find other things to kind of trim around the fat a little bit. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, Liam, but I think it's more, I'd like to know, like, if you're, because what fun thoughts, bro, I know you mean well, but this is awful advice. It's essentially shut up and keep working. No, actually, I don't think that's what I'm saying at all. And maybe I'm not relaying the message properly, but on your North Star goal list, um, like for example, I have 2 kids, and there's a lot of stuff like on our North Star goal list where it's like we probably spend a lot of money for like kids activities, and we could not do those, and we could just do free stuff all the time. But for us, it's very important to do fun things with our kids, and we've just kind of decided that like we have to cut out other things. And I understand what you're saying, like but there has to be some sort of give and take, because if someone was living paycheck to paycheck, I understand why feeling like you're cutting everything is very hard, but also like continuing to live paycheck to paycheck is also very hard. So it's almost like you have to pick kind of what hard you want to do. Do you want to keep like banging your head against the wall paycheck to paycheck, or trying to make a change? And I'm throwing around numbers like 15% to financial goals, 20% to financial goals. If you're doing nothing, I would just recommend doing something. Just start trying to save money, or start trying to do something. How can you do like 100, well, Liam, you're in London, so 100 pounds a month, right? Or something like that. And we just try to change the narrative a little bit, because doing the same thing over and over and over again and still being paycheck to paycheck month after month after month, like something obviously isn't working, and we just need to make a change, right? Why does it have to be a give take if it's just having a nice time with your family? Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, like some of the stuff that we do like costs money. So obviously the fun thing is like watching our kids have fun, but knowing like, okay, this is, but again, we plan every month for money to go to like this category, and it's not like we're just like guessing. I mean, we're putting a certain amount towards like kids stuff, like kids activities and stuff. And so it's part of our budget, honestly. So we're planning for it, and we're putting it in. So it's not like it's, hey, either the kids have fun this month, or, we go out to eat, or, we whatever, right? It's like, it's not a choice, because we've already planned for it, is kind of what I'm saying. So yeah, I think the baby step 4, after after we save, after we pay off the debt, I think putting a little more money towards our future, I don't think anyone would really disagree with, right? I appreciate that, but it shouldn't be that way. Yeah, I understand. I understand it's challenging, and I know you were on the live stream last night when I was talking about like increasing income, but it might just come down to that where it's like maybe you have to look at maybe someone in this situation needs to look at their income, and it's like how can I improve this? How can um, I don't know, how can I increase my income where I'm at? And if that's not an option, then I need to look elsewhere, because at the end of the day, our personal finances are ours. Like no one else is responsible for them. We are responsible for them. So if we don't like where we are, and this was me again over 10 years ago, guys, like I was in that situation where I was blaming other people, and it was almost like I didn't care about my finances, to be quite honest with you. And then when I started caring and I realized that I sucked at it, I was blaming, I don't know, everything that I could, until I realized that it was actually everything was like my doing, and I had full control over what happened. So it's just something to think about. Being able to save is a luxury. That's a wild concept. Um, Leah, my friend, I would love for you to um, join my free personal finance community. Our time zones are a little off, but I would love to be able to help you if you're talking about yourself in these. I would love to see how I can help you with like a um, I'm doing calls inside the community with people there, and I don't want you to feel discouraged, like you can't make any forward progress, because saving money is, I mean, I wouldn't call it a luxury. Like, can you save? I don't know how frequently you get paid, but can you save? You're in the UK, so 25 pounds a paycheck, and you just start saving something. I think that that's at least an idea to like start. It's like, how do we start making a change? And then you saved the 25 pounds, and then you have 25 less pounds for the rest of your week or your 2 weeks, however frequently you get paid. Um, but yeah, I'd love for you to kind of jump in there. I see if I can. It's hard to be super specific on these live streams, because again, I'm trying to make something that applies to everyone watching, and I don't really understand your situation, but I'd be happy to see how I can help you. If you're vibing with me, if you're enjoying what I'm saying, then come on in, and I'd love to chat. If not, that's totally fine. If you just want to hang out here too, that's totally fine. So we're gonna move on to baby step number 5, and on Dave Ramsey's list, and he says this is for saving for children's future education. So a couple things here. One, if you don't have kids, then boom, you've already checked off step 5, because it's like, well, I don't need to worry about that. Um, but yeah, I think this is just like another progression in the process, because how I like to think about personal finances is, surely you guys have gone on like an airplane before, right? And the flight attendant goes over the intercom, or when they do the safety thing, whenever this happens, and they tell you that if, God forbid, an emergency, and the masks come down, they tell you to put your mask on first, and then the people around you afterwards. And that's because they know that you have to set yourself up first before you can kind of help anyone else, even if it's the people that you care about the absolute most, right? So it's the same thing with personal finances. Like, we can't help other people until we help ourselves. So I think that's what he's thinking here, where it's like, all right, save some money, pay off the debt, invest towards your future, and then you can kind of help everyone around you, like help your kids or your close loved ones, things like that. Thanks. Here's a thought. How about a living wage? Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. But again, are there any like, I don't know, are there any like side hustles or new skills that you can like spend time to learn on your off time to try and increase your income? Because at the end of the day, it sounds like that might be the issue. So I think we just have to try and find a way to increase our income. And I agree, like there's some jobs that I don't think are livable incomes. So um, yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. So yeah, baby step five again. So I think this one's a great idea in theory. Like let's pretend for a second that everyone on this live stream has kids. I don't think with how the cost of education, like formal education, is going up. I don't know how many people are going to be able to do this. Even um like cheap, not cheap, but like inexpensive colleges and university places. I don't know, they're probably like 15, 20K. It's been a while, but that's probably it. It's like, so now someone has to save for 4 years, or like put enough money aside for 4 years of that. I don't know if a lot of people are going to reach this, but then at the end of the day, I guess at this point we have saved a lot of money. We've paid off a lot of debt. So maybe there's less obligations and maybe you're able to make this happen. But that's Dave Ramsey's step number five. Baby step number six is pay off the home early. So if you have a mortgage, this is his next step. And personally, this is what this if my wife and I were sticking to this, that this is the step that we'd be on. We're working towards paying off our mortgage very very soon. And this is just kind of an intimidating one. It feels like the other ones are you can start doing in a few months, a few years, and then this is just like, how are we going to pay off a house in, early or whatever. And it just kind of feels like the saying, was it, you can't eat an elephant in one bite or something. So that's kind of what this one feels like. It's like, wow, how are we going to do this? But we just have to take small chunks at a time. Okay, 44 hours a week. So yeah, I think the standard is like, yeah, like 40, 50 hours. I mean, yeah, so I mean, sometimes you just got to put in time, and I'm not, this isn't me preaching or anything like that, but like for example, I don't know, I want this whole like content thing and my this personal finance brand that I'm trying to build to like happen. So, I mean, I've got a 9 to 5 job, um, married with 2 kids, and I'm doing this like pretty much every other second that I'm not doing any of those things. And this is me trying to like build something up. So I just think like I think you still have, I don't know what else is in your life, but 44 hours, I mean, I think you still have time. That's like 8, 9 hours for like a 5-day week schedule, right? So I think there's more time in the day. Yeah, that's fair. I understand if what I'm saying might not resonate with everyone, because again, I don't know people's specific situations, but um, that's fine. I understand. All I'm trying to say, Liam, is that like it might be if stuff's not working, like we can't keep doing the same thing, and that's tough to hear, it's tough to say, but like we have to try and find a way to make some sort of change and make some sort of forward progress instead of just doing the same thing and feeling stuck every month. And again, I this was me, years ago, and so I'm not talking through something that I've never done or never been through. And every person's situation is going to be different, but just something to think about. That's all. I'm just trying to give you another perspective. So you can take it or leave it. I understand. Um, and then Dave Ramsey's baby step 7, he says to build wealth and give. And that's kind of the last step where you have really no obligations. You paid off all your obligations. You saved a lot of money, and now you just like build wealth for the rest of your life, and he likes to give. So yeah, just to kind of do a recap of Dave Ramsey's baby steps. So baby step 1 is to save $1,000 for a starter emergency fund. Baby step 2 is pay off all of your debt except for your house using the snowball method. Baby step 3 is to save 3 to 6 months of your expenses in your emergency fund, so building up after the initial emergency fund. Baby step 4, invest 15% of household income. Baby step 5, save for children's future education. Baby step 6, pay off the home early. And baby step 7, build wealth and give. I would say for me, these are very sound steps. Where would you guys say you are in this process? Like, which step do you think you're at? And I do think some of them are slightly outdated. I think he's really kind of sunk his teeth into like one path. And I do think there's more paths than that. That's the only kind of thing to kind of make it a little more modern. Again, this was, he kind of created this like 3 decades ago. And a lot of things change, like the value of our purchasing power changes, like things are a little different. But I know it works because he has a daily like show, radio talk show, video podcast thing, whatever you want to call it. And people call in and they're just like praising these steps that they went through them and they worked. So I do think it's something that could work for people. And I just kind of wanted to go through the list, see how you guys felt about it, and maybe see if there's anything that we could change or improve or anything like that. Yeah, 1953. Yeah, close. It was like 1990 something, 1992 maybe. Yeah, I'm doing, hey Hugh, how's it going? We're talking about Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps and if they are effective or not. Have you ever tried them? Have you ever gone through them? Let's see. Okay. All right, so I've been on for almost an hour. I think I'm going to call my stream there. And what I forgot to do kind of throughout this thing is tell you that I'm doing this daily. I think some of you have already noticed that. You've been on, and I really appreciate you guys being here. But I'm doing this Finance After Dark thing. I told myself I'm going to commit to just going through the end of June and talking about different topics and things like that. So if you're interested in getting notified when I go live every single night, so night for me, it'll be about 9 p.m. Eastern maybe. Make sure to subscribe. You'll get notified and all that good stuff. Just came in 5 seconds ago. Nope, but it'll definitely still work for some. A bit outdated if you ask me. Yeah, I agree, Hugh. I agree. It's a little outdated. He did it like 30 years ago. But yeah, and I linked above a link to my free personal finance community, Dollar Discipline University. In there, I'm helping people save more money, pay off their debt, build up their personal finance foundation, and I'm taking free strategy calls with every new member that joins. And everything inside the community is free. So resources, the training, the tools, the community, like there's other people in there on the same journey as you. And my time as well. My time is free. So I'm taking free strategy calls in there. A lot of time they lead to other coaching calls. And I just kind of take calls with people, helping people do the things that I said earlier, save money, pay off debt, personal finance stuff. So if that interests you, check out the link. I have it. It's in the chat there, school.com/debt. And for now, guys, I will. I hope to see you another night this week. I will be signing off. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Why is that funny, Liam? Free strategy calls. Yeah. All right, Liam. For you, you're paying for your strategy call. I've decided. You're paying for your strategy call. All right, guys. Well, wherever you are in the world, have a good night, morning, whatever, and I'll see you guys